And we are live. Let's see. All right. Welcome, YouTube. This is my buddy Tom. We did time together at Florence Federal Prison Camp. I'm Sean. Welcome to Federal Prison Talk Live. We're hoping we get some questions tonight. If not, me and Tom are just going to chit-chat about prison life. Before, after, things like that. What we're going through. Let's see if I can tell who's in the room. Got nothing, nobody in here yet, Tom, but give it a minute. I might hit the timer wrong. So anyways, Tom, you've been off federal probation now, what, 2-3 weeks?
I've been off since August.
Since August?
Since August 23rd, I think.
Oh, so that's September. Oh, okay. So how's it feeling? You feeling like a free man? Have you adjusted yet?
No.
Still
I don't think it ever. You know, I had a little episode on Friday where I did a favor for a friend, and all of a sudden I realized it wasn't such a good idea, and it just gave me a relapse into my trauma. And so, you know, I realized that this trauma you're going to live your whole life with. And, you know, you may pretend it's not there, but it just takes one little episode to just zoom you right back into that trauma. This is a severe emotional trauma where there is almost no knowledge or understanding from the people around you. They don't realize that you are carrying, you are living, you are reliving this trauma that you went through. No matter what your crime was, or, you know, you still, I think everyone carries this trauma, and they may mask it. They may pretend it's not there, but I think they need to get, you know, be cognizant that they have had a very severe traumatic experience that emotionally you just don't get over.
No, PTSD. I mean, I get it too. I get flashbacks. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I actually think I'm back in the prison, and you know, I got to go. Oh wait, things come into focus. I see my window and all. I'm no, okay, wait. No, I'm not in prison, but you know, I wake up and sweat sometimes. We got 3 people in the room. Hey guys, how we doing? If you guys want to ask us some questions about federal prison stuff or anything that's on your mind, you know, feel free. Put your name in the comment box, guys, because I see 4 people in the room, but I don't know who you are until you leave us a comment. But I guess you guys know me. This Tom, me and Tom did time together, and Tom has finished his probation. And how much time did you do at the prison camp, Tom? Do you remember?
35 months, and they did not give me my good time. They kept me till about 3 weeks before my time was up. So, you know, when, just as a heads up, you may or may not, depending upon the mood of whoever makes those decisions. In my case, they just decided to keep me incarcerated an extra 2 months, and then they kept me in the halfway house an extra 6 weeks. So, you know, I didn't know how to object to that or fight it. So I did more time than I thought I was going to do.
Hey, Tom, we got Frank in the room. He's actually going to Florence, Colorado. He's got his comment up here, 30 months. He's going to Florence, Colorado. And Frank's in Tijuana. They're letting him stay in Tijuana while he's on pretrial. Can you believe that? That's where he lives, so they trusted him. And then we got Living Good is in the room. What's going on? Yeah, God bless Frank from Tijuana, looking at 30 months. He's coming to Florence. And I got Living Good. What prison were you in, and for what, and how long? I was in Florence Federal Prison Camp in Florence, Colorado. That's the high desert part of Colorado, the south. I did 52-month sentence. With RDAP and good time, I got out of the prison after 27 months and 6 months in the halfway house. And Tom, you want to answer them?
I was in Florence, Colorado, at the camp for 34 months of a 35-month bid. So it can be a great experience. It changed my whole life. I got to know myself like I had never known myself. I learned to be authentic and real, and not pose or posture as someone that I had created over all the years based upon all the people of influence around me. We live a life based upon a lot of the personalities of the people that we hang out with all the time. And what I realized when I had 34 months of being alone to just basically talk with myself and get to know myself, but maybe that's not who I really should have been. And so I came out of prison feeling like I was authentically me. It was like a stranger when I came out who I was. And so I'm still getting to adjust to the real me. So
Sure.
it's an experience. It's not bad. It's not horrible. But the loneliness is tough, and you can find friends, but there are good friends and bad friends. And so you got to be careful. But the more you can kind of get to know yourself and deal with issues, read, study, attend classes, work out, eat healthy, use it as a sabbatical. We all need fixing. We all have issues. And so this turned out to be, crazy to say this, but maybe one of the best experiences of my life. I joke that I wish that had happened when I was much younger, because I think my life would have been totally different if I had become the authentic me, 20 or 30 years ago.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, me and you. I mean, I'm 57. Tom, you're older than me, and we went in there, damn near in our golden years, anyways. So not the time to be going to prison, but it is what I don't get to pick my journey here on the planet of the Earth. I do get to make my decisions and choices that landed me in prison, but now it's all behind me. I don't ever want to go back. But well, Frank has a question here. How is the weather in that camp? So I remember it snows in the winter, but not a lot. It'll melt the next day or two. Summers
Frank, where do you live now?
What's that?
Where does Frank live now?
Here, they're letting me live in Mexico. Frank is in Tijuana.
Oh, he's the one in Tijuana.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
The weather in Tijuana is very nice. It's warm. San Diego, south of San Diego.
He's asking about the weather in the camp because he's going to Florence.
Florence is in the Rocky Mountains, in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. So you have all 4 seasons. So you're going to experience all 4 seasons, winter and fall. Winter, there's some cold days, and you want to be careful not to get on the snow detail, or you'll be up at 4:30 in the morning shoveling snow off the sidewalks. So
yeah,
that gives you
3:33.
some idea of the weather.
Yeah, no, I remember they gave us some winter jackets. I mean, they weren't the best, but they did keep us warm, and they give you a beanie for your hat. I don't think you got to buy your own gloves. If you want a scarf. See, I never used a scarf. I'm from San Francisco until I moved up there in the winter. Now I know what a scarf is all about. But that was a good thing to order on commissary. Did you use a scarf when you were out there?
Yes.
Yeah, because you could wrap it all around your face and your neck and everything like that. And
Yes.
I didn't know.
You want to make sure you get a good jacket. You want to make sure you get a good jacket.
So how do they do that, Tom? How do they make sure they get a good jacket?
Well, everything in prison is a hustle. So you're going to find ways to negotiate, trade, or buy better clothes. And you can buy a lot of stuff on commissary. You have to buy everything on commissary. Underwear, socks, t-shirts, your grays, your warm-ups that you wear most of the time, except during the day when you wear your greens. But there's a lot of economic hustles going on there. You're going to want to make sure you have $300 to $400 a month on your books, if that's possible. You can earn money in there to put so you can barter, but you got to be careful what you do to earn that. You can clean cubicles, you can clean bathrooms, you can work, you can do a lot of things to make extra, not money, but credit towards bartering.
Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting economy in there. I think, I don't think anyone realizes how big the economy behind the fence really is.
And all the food that's stolen out of the chow hall that they turn around and resell, that used to just, you know how we had the chicken fried rice about once a week. You have chicken fried rice. I used to call it BYOC, bring your own chicken. Remember, Tom, you'd be lucky to get 2 pieces of chicken.
Yeah.
You get back to the range, and the guys are walking down the hallways selling that chicken that was supposed to go to me. I mean, if you're gonna steal, man. But don't steal the food that was supposed to go to me. Now you're stealing from me. And I didn't like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of eye openers when you get in there, but you gotta, just keep your eyes open for the first couple months and be careful.
Yeah, there's some guys, some guys find it hard when they get out to stop those little things like stealing, being entitled. Tom, I'm getting ready to move to New Mexico. If you guys don't know, I'm gonna work for a nonprofit called Wings for Life. It helps inmates. I'm gonna be helping inmates when they get out of prison and stuff, get them to work and stuff. But I had to fill out an application for apartments, and there's a section in there about your criminal history. I called Tom up because it says, have you been convicted of a felony in the last 7 years? And I'm going, well, I was indicted in 2013, but was I convicted? I don't think they're going to check for a federal offense. I called Tom and I asked Tom for advice because I needed to do the right thing, but I'm still not to the point where doing the right thing completely on my own came naturally to me. So I needed to hear Tom tell me to do the right thing. And check the box. Yes, I had a felony. I got convicted, indicted in 2013. Later on, I was convicted. So, and then the screening background came back the other day on my email. It says I have my criminal history record is 0. Now, I just got a call from Jonathan. It's a guy that I did a bunch of videos on. He's at the halfway house in New Hampshire right now, and he's applying for an apartment. He got approved. He's getting ready to move in this new apartment, and he's asking me if probation's going to come by because he doesn't want anybody in the apartment complex to see the probation officers come in and check out his place and all that. I said, well, did you tell the landlord that you're on probation and they need to come by, or did you tell the landlord you have a criminal history? He says, no, I didn't do nothing. I said, well, what about the application? Did you check the box for criminal history? And he's I go, well, if you check no for criminal history, you just committed fraud. So you just got out of prison for wire fraud is what he went in for. I go, so now you're still committing fraud. I told him I just went through this with Tom. So you get out and you're gonna check the box. No, you have no criminal history. So you're lying to your property management. You're committing fraud for personal gain while you're still in the federal halfway house. He's not even released from prison yet. And I said, you're still committing fraud. And that's why, so Tom, I'm glad I told the truth. It came back criminal history 0, but I still checked the box and wrote in that I did the crime. And see, it's hard for me to do these things naturally. So my point, guys, is we got a long way to go. Just learning, doing your time. Have I learned my lesson? Yes, but have I learned how to be these decisions, these choices? They just, you know what I mean? I think you guys get my drift. Thank you, Tom, for your help and I need to hear from another voice that I got to tell the truth for the rest of my life. If that's the way I want to live anyways. I want to be a productive member of society and be a a legal citizen, but I can't be lying. I can't be lying on
Well,
forms.
we developed bad habits from 5 or 6 on, and depending upon who we hung out with, we get more interesting bad habits. And changing those bad habits is really tough. And this break in your life where you have some time to really reevaluate who you are and what you want to do the rest of your life, this is a good time to break bad habits. Because if you come back out and you didn't change a lot of your habits and make some strong decisions about what you're going to do with the rest of your life, the probability is you're going to get popped again and go back in. And especially if you're on the drug side of the equation.
Yeah. Hey, TJ, how you doing? TJ's in the room too. He says, yep, same way in the state. I'm not sure what that was referring to, or I forgot where we left off. I know TJ's waiting to get sentenced too. So I know he's going through it. He's on his pretrial. So you guys got some questions for me and Tom? Hoping we got some questions here. If not, me and Tom are just going to chit-chat about prison and stuff. Here we go. TJ says, how long does the sentencing hearing take? Tom, you want to take that one?
Well, it just depends on what's happening. I mean, if you've done a plea bargain agreement, a lot of things are already organized, but the judge does go through a process and a procedure that they have to get on the record, because they assume that if you appeal the decision, they have to have a lot of stuff on the record. And so there's a lot of formalities in the sentencing hearing that they have to do. So a lot of it, you're just sitting there listening to all this stuff go on. And, your attorney will make a statement, and at the end, your judge is probably going to let you make a statement. I didn't realize that once you sign a plea bargain agreement, you basically can't say anything other than what's in that plea bargain agreement. Or, I waited till 9 days before my trial, and I was the last defendant. So, and it was pretty dicey. I had to make an agreement to minimize my deal, because they were a lot of people in my case that snitched out and made deals, and so I was the last man standing, literally out of 12.
Yeah, the leadership role.
Well, surprisingly, I was the least involved. Even the U.S. attorney said, you're the least involved and the least responsible, but you're the only one left, and so I have no choice but to pursue this. But I know what you did, and I know what your participation was, and I don't believe you should go to prison, but we're here at the end and you're the only one standing. So, but if the judge is open to it for probation, I'll go along with probation. So the U.S. attorney turned out to be pretty good to me, but the judge wasn't. And the judge had a bias that just took off and just turned everything around. But it doesn't matter. It's it's the process you're in. Sort of the course is already set. So an hour to 3 hours would be a typical sentencing hearing?
Yeah, mine was about 2 hours, and there was a couple people ahead of me getting sentenced. I know one guy got like 190-something months. It was a long sentence, and I got scared. But that guy was a bank robber and stuff with a gun and held a hostage and all that stuff. But yeah, about 2 hours for me. I had 3 people show up that wanted to speak to the judge. Of course, all 3 of them asked the judge to give me probation. I told them not to say that, but they did anyways. And then it was my turn to talk to the judge. And I told the judge, I know now these are friends of mine from like Alcoholics Anonymous who showed up. And I told the judge, I know you can't give me probation. I'm ready to do time, Your Honor. I'm not here to ask for probation. And I just spoke from the heart, and I told the judge about my, I briefly went over the crimes I did, told him I'm 100% guilty. I want to do the punishment. I told him a few things that I've done to try to change my life. I've been feeding homeless and going to AA meetings and getting off the drugs. And I said, I know that doesn't make me special. but I am trying to change, Your Honor. And when I get out of prison, I want to keep on this path and change. And, you know, and I just told him to just be fair. I just asked him to be fair, and I'm ready for my punishment. And so they were going to give me 60 months. They dropped it down to 52. The judge, I don't know if that's because of what I said and the people who showed up, but the prosecution wanted 60 months, no less. And they gave me 52. So, you know, a few extra months. I don't know if my speech did anything. The judge didn't really tell me, you just changed my mind, I'm going to give you 8 months off free. They don't really tell you that, but I know by your actions at sentencing day, you say the wrong thing, you piss the judge off, they can definitely give you more time. So if you don't know what to say to the judge, don't say nothing at all. That's my advice. What do you think, Tom?
Well, you know, it just depends on what your case is about. You know, certainly the judge has some discretion to make your sentence easier. So you want to be very real in that dialogue with the judge. There's no sense making excuses or trying to defend what you did. That time has passed. So I think you just want to acknowledge, take responsibility is their big issue. If you don't take responsibility, you will get more time. And that was a hard one. That was the hardest thing for me to not, because there were a lot of extenuating circumstances that I wanted to talk about. But if I would have talked about them, now I know I would have gotten more time. So taking responsibility is basically the theme of the sentencing hearing for you. And,
TJ's got another question. Do they have any programs in prisons for veterans? I don't know if specifically for veterans. Do they, Tom? I'm not a veteran, so I didn't pay attention when I was.
I don't remember any programs for veterans. Of course, there's a lot of veterans in there, and you know, they pal up, but I don't remember a program for veterans. There should be. Yeah,
there should be. I think some of the correctional officers give you a little more respect since you served your country. Not that that's going to get you any extra thing. They're not going to throw you a pack of cigarettes because of that, but they might look the other way for something maybe and not give you a shot for, you know, walking across. I mean, there's a thing called a shot in prison. It's a right up there. Walking across the rocks, walking with your shirt untucked, eating an apple outside of the chow hall. All these little things are shots that they usually don't give you one for. So when I say look the other way, there's some COs, you walk across the rocks, they're going to write you up just because they got it out for you. You know, a lot of them, they'll write you up any little thing they want. And then there's looking the other way if they see you with a cigarette or a cell phone. And, you know, there's different levels of it. But, you know, they are there to do their job. I never met one correctional officer that looks the other way for a cell phone. Not one. How about you, Tom?
No. They kind of like giving you shots. And you kind of get rebellious at times and kind of, you know, invite them to give you a shot. All I can tell you is it's best to just stay away from all the COs as far as you can.
Yeah,
a lot of people think I'm going to buddy up with this CO and chit chat with them, and I think it's a real good idea to never have one conversation with a CO if you can avoid it.
There was that CO Maycheck in education when you worked in the back. Did you and him have normal conversations? Do you remember him?
Yeah, I worked with him every day, and he was a chameleon. He used to be on the goon squad at the ADX Supermax, and so he was one of the 8 COs that would suit up in a padded uniform and a helmet, and they'd go in and extract people out of their cell.
Oh yeah, and they're extracting the Supermax people out. Wow.
And so he liked that job, so he talked about it a lot. But as he got older, he just wanted to, you know, have a sort of an easy job until he got his retirement. So he became the education CO, and he was a tough guy, man. He no nonsense guy for sure. if he could make your life hell real easily.
Well, he seemed real nice to us in the classroom. He'd come out and say, "Hey guys, I'm sorry the computers are down, but I'm working on it." And he'd come out and make little announcements about what's going on in education, and said, but I'm working on it. He seemed like a nice guy when he made those little speeches, but I didn't work with him. So you worked with him. So is that all kind of a front that he put on, maybe, or I don't know. He just seemed like he was down to earth to me, but I didn't work with him like you did.
Well, it just goes in a rhythm of when they're nice and when they're real hard-ass COs. I mean, they all have a rhythm, and they all have none of them don't have an attitude if you invite them in to have an attitude or you're within range of them.
Right.
They got a tough job. See, they rotate in and out from the other campuses, the high, the medium, the low. So they've been spending, they were scheduled up at the penitentiary for a while, and
yeah. Now when they work there, they don't even know if they're coming home alive at the end of their shift over there, right?
Yeah, they were under a lot of threat conditions when they were in other areas. So when they came to the camp, sometimes I think they kind of realized that they weren't going to get hurt in the camp, and they sort of took out their frustrations on the campers. I think, that's maybe part of it.
TJ says here they the ones bringing the phones in. So TJ, at a camp, the guards don't bring nothing, and we don't have a fence at a camp. So I mean, you just you could walk to the store and come back if you don't get caught. But yeah, the guards don't bring nothing in a camp. The inmates do that. Like I said, there's no fences, so it doesn't take brains. There's no fence, just go pick it up. So yeah, in a penitentiary or a medium facility, yeah, they got to bribe the guards and put money on their payroll and all that stuff, manipulate the guards and all that. But see, guards don't they don't do that at a camp. They don't need a guard for anything. They need the guard to just look. They need the guard to not be looking. But other than that, yeah, the guards don't bring that stuff in. I got a new guy in the room. Dawood B. He says, "Is there a quarantine when you surrender?" There was, and a few of the camps and a few of the prisons are still doing quarantine. From what I heard, most of them are not. If you've been vaccinated, you got to bring proof that you need to bring proof with you. What do you know about that, Tom?
I don't know anything about it. This is a whole new ball game with the quarantine issues. I will tell you that you want to really work on sanitation and cleanliness, and because if colds start going around or flu starts going around, it's real easy for you to get sick. And I don't know if there's been a lot of COVID cases in prison or not, but you want your sanitation to be ever better than it's ever been, man, because you don't want to get sick. Because if you get sick, you're going to lay in your bunk and be sick, because they don't care if you're sick.
Yeah, and everybody will get sick around you, and that's because you're in confined quarters. If one person's sick, everybody gets sick. I remember that. Got 13 people in the room. I like that. So if you guys want to ask some questions, say hi in the chat room. Vince is here. Let's see. Hey, Vince says, "Hey, Sean, another wacky question." I like wacky questions, Vince. If you have a well-kept beard, is it possible to maintain it while in the camp? I've never seen so many beards in my life when I went to that camp. God, I mean, I didn't know if I was Amish people there or bikers or what. Oh, man, there was so many beards, kept and unkept. Some guys had strings and tied them all up, and other guys kept them nice. Do you remember all the beards, Tom?
Yeah. Yeah, you go through phases where you want to shave and be, and then there's phases where you say, the hell with it, I'm just going to let everything grow for a while. I went through 3 or 4 of those phases where I wouldn't even bother getting a haircut or shaving, Yeah. But it's better if every day you make yourself presentable and try to feel better about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I showered every day, and it's one thing when you get to, I just did a thing on commissary, but shower shoes is the first thing you want to buy, and all your hygiene. And make sure you shower every day, because you're living with other people, man. And if you don't shower, people are going to make you shower, and they will find a way to make you shower. But as far as getting haircuts, Tom, I had a question. Somebody actually asked me this question the other day. How do haircuts work in prison?
Well, you know, that's a pretty good job. If you have any barber skills, you should perfect that real quick. Go brush up on it, because that's a pretty good job in prison, cutting hair. And you get some gratuities from people for cutting their hair. And it's, you know, you got some nice conversations. And so, yeah, if you have any inclination, that's one of the better jobs, in my opinion, behind the fence, is cutting people's hair. And people respect you and like you because you've developed, you know, a man-to-man relationship with them while they're cutting your hair, and that's not a bad gig.
Yeah, we had 3 or 4 barbers, guys, and it's a regular barber shop, and then a whole lot of stuff inside. But there's a barber chair that spins around, and the sink and all that. They even had a barber pole on the outside to advertise, and different guys would take turns on which days that they worked in there. Some of the larger prisons might have, you know, 10 barber chairs all lined up, 3 or 4 barbers working. But so the haircut's supposed to be free, because the prison pays the barber to do that. But it's customary to give a tip. I heard anywhere from $3 to $10. So in my camp, we use tunas. It's $1.45 a piece for a tuna, like $1.50. So I would tip the guy 2 or 3 tunas. A lot of guys tip a lot more, but they want fades and special things done and all that. I would just tell them, take a 1 and just buzz me. Also, they give haircuts in the bathrooms in the dorms at night. A lot of guys have these little portable razors and shavers and things that they brought with them from other prisons that sell them at commissary. And they'll set up little barbershops in the shower room, at the bathrooms. And I've seen like 4 different little barbershops going at once. And those guys charge about $10. They take an hour to cut your hair. And that's, you know, but those guys are kind of, they got regular customers and they do it like that. Or you could even pay somebody. You could rent a pair of clippers and do it yourself to one of those guys that has the clippers. You know, if you didn't want anybody cutting your hair. So that's a few ways you can get your hair cut. Tom, it looks like there's a question for you. TJ.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, TJ, you know, I don't think I'll ever get over the whole prison experience. It's going to be challenging for anyone. I mean, you can go in there and pretend like it's not, but I'm pretty sure everyone who goes behind the fence or behind the wall ends up with some trauma that lasts a long time. It's hard to talk about even, but you need to work on your mental health while you're in prison, and you need to become healthier mentally as well as physically, because when you get out, you have some big challenges. We'll talk about that here later in the program, but I thank you for thinking I'm over my whole prison experience, but I can assure you that it's, you know, people may not see it, but it lives with me every day.
Tom, you know those talks me and you used to have in the law library. I don't know if I've ever thanked you for those, but yeah, you got, you know, just having somebody to, like, I don't know, what's the word, who's somebody intelligent to talk to in prison. I'll just say that. Who, you know, like, there was times we had some talks and we talked about the future and what we're going to do when we get out, but we also talked about what was going on there. And I don't know if I could ever thank you enough, but like, it's an honor to be here today out of prison. And here we both are on this show. And, you know, when I got to meet you in Albuquerque, and I mean, it's just an honor that, like, you know, I really, Tom, just, you never, I didn't go to prison expecting to make any friends, but I'm sure glad I met you, you know?
Well, back at you, Sean. You know, you meet some good people in there. There's a lot of good people that sadly, you know, ended up making a mistake. You know, none of us are innocent. You know, I would talk to a lot of guys because I worked with the jailhouse legal team, and so we were reviewing cases all the time and dealing with appeals. We had a former U.S. attorney in there who would do the do the motions for appeal or any kind of motion that would have helped the inmate. So I talked to a lot of people. I mean, literally being in the education department, everyone who came to Florence to the camp had to come sit down with me and schedule their programming. So I had an opportunity to talk to a couple thousand men for 5 minutes or 5 hours or sometimes days, and I learned a lot. I got to know a lot of good people, but there's still some jokers in there who just want to play games. So
yeah. And then I forgot the 7 Habits class, and we were both mentors in that for a few times. And yeah, maybe we can talk about that. Here's a question from Vince real quick. Can I put money on my books before I self-surrender? It's funny. Remember, Tom, we were just talking about that.
Yeah.
So I didn't put my money on till the morning I checked in. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I checked in at 2 o'clock, and so that morning I had my girlfriend and my daughter with me, and we went and had breakfast, and then we went in Western Union and wired some money into me. I mean, I didn't know I needed money in prison. I was surprised, but really, it's changes your life if you can have $300-400 a month wired in, or you know, so that you can have a few comforts while you're there. Sometimes just cooking your own meal with some of the commissary items is just a relief. We on Saturday nights we almost always cooked our own meal, and we had a little group together, and we share the cooking responsibilities, and we just have like a little group dinner together, and that was just something I look forward to.
Yeah, I lived on $100 a month. A guy named Walt Pavlo, who went to prison. He was doing some prison consulting, but I had called him up. He had videos on YouTube, and I had no money to hire him, but he's put $100 on my books the whole time I was there. Every month, was never late. He teaches criminology courses now at Southern University, Southern Boston, and he's I'm still in contact with him, and he's helped a few guys out, and that's one of the reasons I do this channel. I want to give back, and you know, when I get to the point that I can maybe sponsor somebody and put $100 on their books, I can't do that right now. I'm barely paying my rent, but it's going to happen. But at least I can help you guys right now. And so I had $100 a month, and then I made maybe $35 a month for my job. You know, so I made that work. You know, some guys do spend $300 a month. You can spend what's it, $360 a month at commissary. Not to mention money you spend on MP3 songs for your MP3 player. Not to mention money you spend for writing and sending emails. That could be very expensive at 10 cents a minute. And some guys, you know, they're on that email terminal. You know, 2-3 hours a day. It's got to be costing them $10 a day in emails, you know. So yeah, you can spend a lot of money.
What time do you have to wake up in the morning? Well, if you want to eat, you have to be there at 7. If you're not there between 7 and 7:30, you're probably not going to have breakfast. So the other thing is, if you need medical attention, you got to be there at 6. And if you're not there at 6, you won't get any medical attention. You don't get great medical attention even if you're there, but at least you have a chance of getting a little medical attention if you need it. So yeah, you get up in the morning and you start your day, and it's good because, you know, you just got to get going and get busy with doing things. You got to go to the library and get some books and start reading, and you got to go to classes. You'll get a job there within a month or two of being there. But everyone works doing something. And you know, like one of the guys that was happiest was the guy who did the maintenance, and he was a big contractor out of Denver, and he loved doing maintenance all day long. So he felt normal just doing maintenance around the camp, and he got a lot of respect and a lot of benefits because he was able to fix plumbing problems or things that got broken. He could fix them. And so you want to find something where you feel some sense of pride and fulfillment.
Yeah, gives you a sense of purpose, and and your health. Yeah, and yeah, some people you just need to work. It makes time go by. You feel self-worth. You know what I mean? It doesn't. You don't do it for the money, not in prison. But yeah, I agree. Next one here, TJ Sam probably. You know what he means by that? I'm not sure what he means by
5
that.
a.m. He said 5 a.m.
Oh, 5 a.m. That's not Sam. That's on my eyes. All right. Yeah, I think I got up at 5:30 and I'd jump in the shower. First thing I did, get dressed, and I had a coffee and breakfast was at 7 to 7:30, or was it 6:30? I usually went to breakfast. It was usually during the weekdays. It was oatmeal and toast, or cereal and toast, or pancakes or French toast. And on the weekends, you get bacon and eggs and potatoes and stuff like that. The cereal was fine, where they give us a banana and some. We had the honey bunches of oats going there for about a year. Honey bunches of oats and a banana, and and that worked for me. And some coffee, toast. I was good with that, man. That ran out after about a year, but I remember it was a generic version of honey bunches of oats, but that was a good year. Then it went back to just plain bran, like Raisin Bran without the raisin, or cornflakes. Here's another question from Vince. Heading to Morgantown. Anyone in the room heading there? Anyone have any insight? I hear it's one of the better camps. I know Morgantown used to be an old college, like a community college, not a university. From what I understand, it still is, and you live in the college dorms. Somebody said when you go to Chow Hall, it's across the street from the college, and you actually go outside on the sidewalk where cars drive by, wait for the light to turn red and say don't walk, and you actually go as a group to the Chow Hall. Do you know anything about Morgantown, Tom?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What city is that in?
I want to say Pennsylvania. I could look it up real quick. TJ says, heard Morgantown is pretty sweet. Yeah, I heard that too, TJ. But I also heard some stories that guys sneak out of those dorms at night and they go to town, and you know what I mean? I don't want to get you guys. I don't want to tell you. There's a lot of myths. I've heard stories about guys bringing women into the prison and the camps. And I think all that's just fairy tales. But yeah, who knows?
West Virginia. Morgantown's in West Virginia.
Okay. All right.
Vince and TJ says.
And Vince says, thanks, TJ. And Vince says, West Virginia. Oh, he's got it. Yeah, they're all saying West Virginia now. All right. Great. Tom, did you had out of all the meals we had there, the different ones we had, was there any ones that you liked? Any days you liked?
The only meals I liked was Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Well, Thanksgiving's coming up. Maybe we should talk about that. Do you remember what they gave us?
No, they gave a full Thanksgiving dinner. They went out of their way on Thanksgiving. That's a tough weekend for us incarcerated. When you're incarcerated, that's a very tough weekend because your family is hurting and they're trying to celebrate Thanksgiving without you. And boy, that's a tough weekend. The holidays are tough. Your birthday's tough. Father's Day's tough. You gotta get strong in prison. You cannot be vulnerable when you're going in. Vince asked me, what's the best part of doing time at the camp, and what's the worst? Well, I became a reader. I read over 200 books. I had people lined up before I went in to send me in a book a week. So I had a new book every week. So I picked the books I wanted to read and I had family and friends send them in. I made a list of all the books I wanted to read, and I sent them to my family and my friends and said, if you get a chance, send me this book. And they did. I walked out of that camp with over 200 books. And so reading was good. I wished I'd worked out more. I wished I'd really got into a serious exercise program because that would have helped the mental health part. I wrote a lot. I wrote project planning document, a 200-page project planning document. So I did a lot of research on starting businesses when I got out, and now I'm starting those businesses. So I tried to keep real busy. I was in the education office and the library, and so I went there right after chow, and I stayed there till dinner, till count, and then dinner, and I went back there after chow.
Yeah, you were in that office all the time, man. I remember that was your home from home.
It got me through having a place to just go sit down and read and work. And I had an old typewriter that I just sat there and started typing. My typing skills got real good. And so the worst time, there's some bad guys in there who want to mess with you. I'm a white guy, an old white guy. That's not exactly a popular person in prison. So there's guys in there who want to mess with you. You got to avoid them. You can't challenge them. You got to just avoid them and accept that they have some agenda. But sometimes it's just a sport, or just they're angry and you look like a good candidate to vent that anger on. So I had a half a dozen experiences that were not good. And you got to be careful. You do not want to fight with anyone. You do not want to argue with anyone, period.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
If there is something going on, you want to get up and walk away. It's no time to prove that you're macho or you're the man, or
no time to be right. You don't want to be right and prove them wrong. I just take the loss and walk away. If the argument lost, if it comes down to it,
you're in a situation where mental health of those who have more severe mental health challenges than you may have are going to act up. And so there's a lot of, the worst part for me was dealing with the mental health eruptions of other people. And sometimes they wanted to vent those on you. Vince, I think you're pretty safe at 6'6", 250 pounds,
Yeah, I would say so.
There's no one-on-one fighting in prison, just so you know. Whenever you fight with somebody, generally they've declared an allegiance to a gang, and there's right away 6 to 20 guys against you. So you don't ever want to fight, because there's a good chance that you're going to be fighting 5 or 6 or 10 people at a time.
Sure.
So if you have a tendency to fight, or you say, will people try to test me at the camp? Yes, they will. Will you pass the test if you smile and walk away? If you want to prove you're the toughest guy in camp, you're going to have several sessions, and once you prove it once, they're going to come back again. And I don't think you should ever fight anyone. And if someone tests you, I think you should smile and politely excuse yourself, and maybe even eat some crow and apologize if that's what it takes, because there is no winning a fight in prison.
Right. Tom, you're right. Hey, I want to go back here. I missed a few guys' questions. Brian, hey, what's going on, Brian? What's the maximum I could put and have on my books? I've heard $10,000. What do you know, Tom?
Yeah, I a lot of people accumulated a lot of money. Depending upon what's going to happen when you get out. If you have financial capability when you get out, you're fine. But when I got out, I had nothing. I had lost everything. My crime was a financial crime. They took everything, and I had restitution. And so, I didn't have any money when I got out, so it was tough.
That's right. If you owe restitution, they'll start taking that out of your account. They can take like 25% a month out. So
the biggest shock
what's that?
The biggest shock for the older guys who were on Social Security was you don't get Social Security when you're in prison.
No, they cut you off.
You don't get disability when you're in prison. All that goes away until you get out.
TJ says, I wish I could qualify or camp, but I have too many points. I'm looking at a low. Yeah, me and TJ, he called me up on the phone, and I got a checklist of questions and stuff. He's looking at like 14 or 15 points, so he's going to a low. I mean, I don't know his criminal history points. You know, I mean, what he says it is. You know, but even a low is not going to be bad at all. There's the only thing is the sex offenders at a low, you know, and there's a fence. But you can make it through a low just like a camp. They're not going to want to see your paperwork, or you don't got to join a gang or anything. You know what I mean? What do you know about a low, Tom?
I don't know anything.
All right. I only know from guys I talked to that been in lows. You know.
Well, the one thing I'll tell you about being in a camp that I did not know, you know, I was under this illusion that a camp was a bunch of white collar guys going to a camp, but in reality, the camp is just a step down from the low and the medium and the high. So people who've done their time, as they get closer to, you know, getting out, they'll transfer them into a camp. So you're going to end up with some people who've been in prison for 10 or 20 years in the camp. And I didn't know that. And so those guys are they have a whole new set of rules that they bring with them from the low, the medium, and the high that you got to kind of understand, because they don't like camps because they run differently than where they've been.
That's right.
But yeah, a camp is not just for everyone who's been in a camp. So hopefully, TJ, if you're going into a low, at some point they'll transfer you to a camp, and you want to work that out and be aware of that, because I think the camp's better. Most people who came from the low said that a camp was better, although they didn't like the lack of rule politics, they call it, of how everything is controlled by the inmates. Although there's still a lot of politics in the camp.
I got this Grown Little Boy show. That's not Larry. Larry, you're not. Grown Little Boy show. There was a guy, Larry McGee. He's been on my show before, and I don't think you're out of prison yet. Maybe that's his wife running the channel. If that's Larry and you're out of prison, say hello. I'm thinking this might be your wife running the channel while you're in prison. But anyways, Grown Little Boy show. Check out his YouTube channel, guys. That's Larry. He's supposed to be in Mendota Federal Prison Camp outside of Fresno, but maybe you got out. We got Vince says, Grown Little Boy show in the house. Welcome, welcome. Oh, yeah. They know you. And he's saying, hey, Sean. That's not Larry. Larry, that's not you, is it? Are you out? Did you get out? Because Larry, I got a CORRESPONDENCE email from saying that you will no longer be sending me emails from CORRESPONDENCE. Now, I don't know if that meant you cut me off or you got thrown in the shoe or they cut your email. I don't know what that was about. So if that's you, I'm glad you're out. Maybe you got out earlier than I thought. Anyways, TJ says, I've done 30 months of state, now looking at 8 to 14 months fed. Oh, yeah, that's right. We talked about that. I think, Tom, we did that little pretrial anonymous thing. He was the guy looking at, he got in a fight on an airplane, and they made it a federal offense. You've seen these videos lately about passengers fighting on the planes, Tom? Have you seen these videos? Yeah, yes. He's one of those. He's one of them. So he's not sure what he's going to get. Vince says, he's asking TJ if you have a nice break from this wacky society. Breathe and prepare for your comeback. Yeah.
Yeah, your comeback is real important because you have the opportunity to 100% change everything in your life. You can be the authentic you, and you can start a life of exactly whatever your passion is. No matter, you can create an exciting life for yourself, a very fulfilling life for yourself. You don't have to redo what you did before. You can come out brand new, reborn, religiously stated, and start doing exactly what you want. So you want to figure out, what would I do if I could start over? Because this is a start over for you. And this is an opportunity for you. And you want to get prepared for whatever that is, to come out and be strong and live an exciting life, a fulfilling life, a life that makes a difference for you and your family.
The Grown Little Boy Show. This is his assistant. Okay, I didn't think Larry was out yet. I had his date written down. Let Larry know the core links won't let me email him anymore. Ask him to put me back on his core links so I can email him. Tell him they cut me off for some reason. I don't know if it was me. Have something to do with my channel. They might not allow him to talk to me anymore. That'd be the first time. My probation officer knows I have this channel, but BOP might think different. I'm not sure. But I have other guys I correspond with in prisons, and they haven't cut me off. So let him know. Oh, assistant. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully he is well. All right. You don't know who I'm talking about, Tom, do you? Larry McGee. Did you ever see the interview I did with him?
Just the first part of it, but I didn't see the whole interview.
He got 18 months. He's in Mendota. He told me they're only giving him 3 months halfway house time. Oh, by the way, I just got an email from Otis. If you guys remember, I did an interview with him. Was he from Alabama, I think? He got 2 years, but he got 10 months halfway house on a 2-year sentence on 24 months. So he wasn't eligible for RDAP, but he got 10 months halfway house. So you guys are wondering how much time can I get off and all that. 10 months halfway house time. Plus he'll have 4 months good time. So he's going to get 14 months off a 24-month sentence. He's only doing 10 months. So there's hope for you guys. They're giving away a lot of halfway house time now, guys. Another guy got who was that? Raheem. He also got 10 months. No, yeah, 10 months on a 24-month sentence. Somebody else got 8 months on an 18-month sentence for halfway house. Anyways, they're giving a lot of halfway house time out, guys. So you guys are getting ready to go in. When me and Tom went in, you're lucky to get 2 months halfway house time, right, Tom? When we were in there?
Oh, yeah. And I was supposed to get three and a half months of halfway house time, and I thought I was going to get 48 hours in the halfway house and sent home to home confinement, but they kept me in Florence an extra 2.5 months. No reason. No one could ever explain to me why. They actually called me in one day and said, "Do you want to go home next week?" And I said, "Yes." And I quit my job and got ready to go home. And 2 months later, I was still there. It was a miserable 2 months, thinking any day they were going to call me to go home. But let me say this about halfway house. Halfway house is not better. There's a lot of people told me that you should just finish your time and be done with it and not have to go to halfway house. You got a good routine going when you're in a camp, and when you get to the halfway house, my halfway house was just a warehouse with 58, with 26 bunk beds in one room, and the halfway house was not as good as being in the camp. So you need to think about whether halfway house is really going to be better or not. So I'd go see where your halfway house is and find somebody who's there and see what kind of quality of life you'll have in that halfway house, because they don't have any of the amenities they have in a camp. It's generally just a warehouse. So, you can get out and be on work release, and I got out on a work release, which made mine better. But, in retrospect, I'd have just as soon finished my time and walked out the gate and not had any more probation. Any more time to be in a halfway house or home confinement.
Let me answer this for Dave. Dave says, does the camp you go to have any effect on how much halfway house time you get? So we had 3 case managers at my camp, Dave. There was there was 2 out of the 3. There was one lady who was really nice, and I always heard guys would get 6 months halfway house from her all the time. And the one I had was fair. He'd give 2 or 3 months. And then there was one other lady that would only give you 1 month no matter what. And I heard about guys coming out of camps in California and Tucson, and they're getting 12 months halfway house time, and Sheridan, Oregon was giving everybody 6 months halfway house time. And I don't know if it depends on the caseworker or the case manager, how hard they want to work for you. Is the halfway house already full? Is there only one halfway house in your area? Like in LA, they have 5 different halfway houses. But, you know, in San Francisco, we only have one. Oregon only has one. You know what I mean? So if the halfway house is already full, are there more people in home confinement there? There's a lot of factors that come into play. But I want to say the answer is yes if you believe inmate.com. Inmate.com is the inmates gossip channel. So most inmates will tell you, yeah, it depends where you go, that they'll give you more halfway house time. I'm not sure how true that is. Vince says, TJ, I think you have a point. And Vince, is 1 year halfway house possible? Yes, it is. Actually, you can do up to 18 months halfway house time. I heard about it once or twice, but I have heard about guys getting 12 months halfway house time. Now, you may not want all that, like Tom said. You get to go to work every day, but the halfway house time, not always, they're always in the bad neighborhoods. You're going to get patted down and searched every time you go in and out, breathalyzed, drug tested at 3 in the morning, almost every night at mine. You're 5 minutes coming back from work one day because the bus didn't pick you up, and the bus in San Francisco, the bus would be too full and they wouldn't let anybody else on it. Now I'm going to be late for work, and I'm calling the halfway house, but they're not answering their phone. The number's busy, busy, busy. I get there. I explain all this. They don't care. They call the marshals, and I'm back in prison. You know what I mean? So you're taking a chance. So, yeah, the halfway houses aren't always what people think they're going to be. But for me, it was a chance to earn some money. I only had a job washing dishes, but, you know, it paid $19 an hour in San Francisco washing dishes. I was able to buy a car when I got out of the halfway house and get on my own. So, you know, for me, I needed the halfway house. I had nowhere to go. So some guys have somewhere to go, and the halfway house is just holding them back. So, oh yeah, I got that. You're his assistant. Yeah, like I said, I knew Larry had somebody running his page. Let's see here. Vince says, I agree. I heard halfway house sucks. I heard because I have RDAP, I have to. Yeah. So if you have RDAP, you have to do aftercare. It's called TDAP. You got to do at least 4 months aftercare, but you can do that from home confinement. But now you only get home confinement for the last 10% of your sentence. So if you're doing 4 years, you can do 4 months halfway house time. 4 months home confinement. Tom, you were on home confinement. You want to talk about what that's like?
Well, you know, that was when my girlfriend liked me, and I hadn't been with her in a while. So it's kind of nice. You know, I was only on home confinement for, I think, 3 weeks. So it was sure nice to get that ankle bracelet off. But you know, home confinement is obviously a lot better. You know. And I'm hoping with this letting people have more halfway house time, that these halfway houses are letting you go home. These halfway houses, remember, they get paid every day you're there. Most of them are not-for-profit foundations, and they get a daily payment based upon the number of people in the halfway house. So they're not anxious to let you go. You know, I didn't realize that till I got there, and they wouldn't let me go. And you know, there was a horrible incident that happened right on the bunk next to me, where a guy got killed right in front of me, and they let me go the next morning. So if it hadn't been for that, I think I'd have been there till the end of my sentence, my 35 months sentence.
Yeah, my halfway house time was mostly people from the penitentiary in there too. Very few campers. And a few people got shanked and stabbed and killed while I was there from guys in the penitentiary. You know, they still come in there with their penitentiary attitude, and they don't like campers. Vince, Vince, you got to do 53 months. I had a 52-month sentence, Vince, and I saw you getting the RDAP, so I left the camp after 27 months. So that's probably going to happen to you too with the RDAP. So figure about halftime. You'll be out of there half that time, Vince.
Dave, you asked, can you arrange a job with a friend or family that has a company or business to hire when you get to the halfway house from camp? It just depends on your counselor whether they think that's a legitimate job or not. A lot of times they're skeptical of those kinds of jobs and think they're not a real job. They're just an accommodation. You know, when you get out, no one trusts you or has any faith in you. They all think you have some sort of hustle. So getting a job with a company or business that his friend or family has is doubtful. I mean, you might be able to make that argument and pull it off, but it's not just because they have a job for you doesn't mean that they're going to approve that job. And they turn down a lot of jobs that people want or have because they just don't think they're the legitimate jobs that they should have.
Yeah, you can't work for yourself, and usually you can't work for a family member if they know it's a family member. A friend, they're not really likely to know that you know them as a friend, but they have to they'll usually visit the employer. Employer's got to sign a paper that states that you're still in prison and living out of halfway house time. The employer's got to email your work schedule every week to your job counselor at the halfway house. It's all got to be approved. Plus, they're going to come out on the job site, make sure you're there. You know what I mean? And so you can't hide anything. So whoever you do work for, it's a lot of paperwork and hassle for them to hire you too. So not all employers want to deal with that. It's not that they don't mind hiring felons, but they don't want to have the extra paperwork to do on top of that. So you got to consider all that.
There's also a tendency when you're working for a family or a friend to think that you have all this freedom, and so it's very easy to violate the terms of your work release agreement, and so you very easily could get yourself in trouble. And you know, if you get in trouble in the halfway house, they're just going to send you back to the camp, and that's no fun. So you want to just assume until you finish your sentence that you are still under the auspices of the Bureau of Prisons or the state jurisdiction that you're in. And if they can violate you, they love to do that. That's a real, they have a real interest in violating you. If you give them any chance at all, they will violate you and send you back to prison. So you don't want to get presumptuous that you're free, because you're not free. You're not free until you finish your probation. Because
yeah, they don't want to give you the home confinement. They don't want to let you go, but they have no problem sending you back to prison either. Yeah.
Yeah, I met people every week in the education office that were violated either at home confinement or at the halfway house, and they just got sent back. They will send you back for almost anything. You may not even realize you're violating something, and you will be. They will send you back.
They sent a guy back at my halfway house for opening the window because our windows were all kind of nailed, wired. They were wired shut. You weren't allowed to open them. And a guy went and found some tools and took the screws out to open his window. And it had some kind of foil alarm on there. Anyway, yeah, he got sent back to prison for that. Destruction of property, violating this, violating that. Yeah. So like Tom said, any reason. If you there was another guy who was filming on his cell phone inside the halfway house, and they sent him, and he put it on Facebook, and they sent him back to prison. They don't want the press or the media or nothing to see inside that halfway house. You can't even take a picture of the floor.
And that phone that you have in the halfway house, you better use it sparingly, only for conversations with people you need to have a conversation with. They check that phone every night. You have to turn that phone in every night, and they're going to see what you've been looking at on the internet, which you're not allowed to access the internet, but your phone many times will access the internet, and you're so anxious to get on the internet, you'll get on there for anything. But if you get on the internet, or you make any inappropriate calls, or if you call somebody and get in an argument with them, they'll call the halfway house, and they might violate you over that. So you may have a phone in the halfway house, but that doesn't mean you have freedom.
That's true. This is from TJ. If you get disability, will they make you work in a halfway house? Mine didn't make you work, but they would make you do some kind of a chore. You know, even if you're in a wheelchair, they'll find some kind of chore for you to do. Disabled chore. And sometimes they make you do community service. Depends how disabled you are. If you're just getting a disability check, but they see that you can walk around, maybe you can push a broom, maybe you can wipe off tables, you can clean walls, you can do something. That's what they're going to try to do. If you're total disability, you can't do chores or anything. They'll still let you stay at the halfway house, but they're gonna give you attitude. What do you think, Tom?
Well, disability, I don't know. You better check and see whether you can get your disability income when you're at the halfway house. I'm not sure you can, so I don't think they would count that disability. I'm not sure they're going to respect that disability status you have a whole lot. I mean, if you're really in a wheelchair or you're missing a limb, you probably get some sympathy, but there's no sympathy for any of our issues.
No. Yeah, they did say you should have thought about that before you committed that crime, you know. Dan Dawood says, can you refuse to go to a halfway house? Happens all the time. A lot of guys do. Yeah, they don't want it. They don't want it. They don't want it. Too many rules.
Back to the disability. What was the guy in the wheelchair that didn't have any legs? They didn't care that he was in a wheelchair with no legs. They still made him go work at the maintenance shop.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we had about 7 or 8 guys with one leg at that camp at one time or another. They all had jobs. They found something for all of them, right?
Yeah, disability doesn't get you anything in prison.
Yeah, you didn't get out of no work. They found something. They had the condiment crew for them or something where they sit down. Those guys that would sit there and fold silverware and the chow hall. Remember they roll plastic silverware in the napkins. I mean, they'll find something for you. You know, you're not getting out of work. Yeah. One leg, no leg, they found something for you to do. Same way at the halfway house. If your arms are working, then you can work from the chest up, you know. They'll find you a desk job or something. Just Vince says, looking at all 27 months inside, but that's with 6 months halfway house. But man, these halfway houses I hear are terrible. Yeah, that's what we've been talking about. I've heard of a few good ones, the smaller ones that might have been maybe a Motel 6 they turned into, and it's 2 guys per room. And in small towns, I've heard some of them are all right, but most of them, yeah, they're money makers. Well, had a lot of questions on here, Tom. We've been talking about an hour. I don't know if you guys want to keep going, Tom. Got 14 people in the room. I like that.
Well, let's give anyone who has a chance to have another question to ask it now, and if you have a question, go ahead and post it. We'll answer it. Can you refuse to go to the halfway house? Well, yeah, you can stay in the camp or the low, and that's not a bad option. Many people told me that's when they walked out of there, they didn't want any more prison time, whether it was in a halfway house or home confinement. They wanted to be done.
Yeah, me too.
On your PSI, can they really use things that happened over 15 years ago? There are no rules on a PSI. They can use anything that person who does the PSR, that federal agent or state agent who prepares the PSI, they can put anything they want on there. That thing is we should talk about that another night, because that's a very important document, and it can cause you a lot of problems. So we need to talk about that PSI next week.
Yeah, any felonies over 15 years are not supposed to be used for your offense level or your guidelines, but the prosecution will use that against you. They can unseal your records when you were a minor if they want. Anything they want to use to prove how bad of a person you are. So yeah, like Tom said, we'll talk about that on another night. Here's one, EB Bud. Any issues with the IRS? Well, I do. I owe quite a bit of money. I did wire fraud, tax fraud, filing false tax returns. But I'm not sure if that's what you mean by any issues. Do you mean now? Do we have any? What do you think he means, Tom?
Well, I don't like to talk about IRS.
Yeah, well, then we won't.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with IRS.
Yeah,
Those guys have a long arm.
I don't lie on my taxes now, ever. So don't lie on your taxes, guys. Just don't lie. Another great session, guys. Oh, thanks. Oh, you're welcome, TJ. Tom, I want to thank you for being on here too. And I know it's not always easy for you to relive these prison memories, but I know you've helped some people out there. These questions might seem menial to me and you, Tom, because we've already been there and done it. But you know, when you're going through what a lot of these guys are going through, facing prison, they have no clue what's ahead of them, you know, in their journey through this federal system. And I'm sure we helped some guys out, Tom, and I know you did. So thank you, Tom. Just remember, you're helping somebody else. I know some guys I've already told you thank you. So,
well, you guys hang in there. You need to look at this as a sabbatical where you can reinvent yourself, where you can discover a new future for yourself. Spend a lot of time with your family. This is harder on your family than it is on you. Go see every family member you have and spend a couple hours with them and have a heart-to-heart talk with them, because when you get out, they may or may not be there. Well, that's just the reality. They may not be able to handle it. But if you go see all of them, all your family, all your close personal friends before you go in, spend a couple hours with them, have a heart-to-heart with them, apologize for anything that went on in the past, come to terms with whatever issues need to be dealt with, so that when you get out, that business is taken care of.
hey, who's this? Dave wanted to know when best time to. I'm off the next couple of days, Dave. So just call me after 10 a.m. San Francisco time, and don't call me late at night. But no problem. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, TJ said he made a donation. God bless you, TJ. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time, guys. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy the weekend. And you know how to get a hold of me. It's all underneath all the videos. Thanks again, Tom, okay?
Thank you, Sean. God bless you, gentlemen.
You bet.
Have a great Thanksgiving. Take care of your family. Hold your children.
All right.